Hey everyone, and welcome to my second knife review. Today I'm going to present you this beautiful knife made by Jacques Jobin. But first, I would just like to say a few words about the maker. So Jacques Jobin is a Canadian knife maker, but before making knives, he did a completely different job. He was a bodyguard for the government ministers. And as many other knife makers, he started making knives for pleasure. He was fascinated by the ability of steel to change structure after the quenching process. And he finally quit his job to become a full-time knife maker. He makes some very original knives, from quite small pieces to big pieces. He does a lot of improvisation when he makes his knives, and he likes to express himself in futuristic lines. I'll just show you a few pictures to give you an idea of the crazy thing he makes. Now, as you can see, he makes amazing knives. By the way, I'll just leave a link in the description below if you want to have a closer look to the things he makes. I'll just quote his words by saying that he likes the idea to give the impression the knives can fly as well as they cut. And I really like this sentence because it really illustrates what is an art knife for me. An art knife is not just a usable tool, it's more a way for the maker to express himself, to express his creativity. But it's not only that, because it would be a pure piece of art. To be an objet d'art, it really needs to keep its primary function, which for a knife is cutting. So to summary, an art knife for me is something that you can use, but is not made to be used. Its first task, if I can say, is not the useful one. It's more the artistic one. Now, let's have a closer look to my knife. It's a lot more traditional than the things I showed you on the photos. By traditional, I mean with just a blade and a handle. It really looks like a knife. It's not a sculpture or something like that. So what have we got there? Let's start with the handle. It's made of two tiny titanium pieces with a mammoth ivory scale and a very fine black liner just under the mammoth ivory scale. I'm not sure what it is, but it's probably G10 or micarta. Gives it a really nice look. We have a custom screw for the pivot. I did have originally it came with a special tool to adjust it, but this is a second-hand knife, and I never saw the special tool for it, but I think I could always ask the maker to make another one. We have 3 little holes just there, which are anodized inside, which is a really nice little touch. So these 2 are orange, and the one in the middle is anodized in pink. Everything is nice and rounded. You don't have very strict edges. Just there, but they are not aggressive. They have a very, very nice feeling, and The finishing of the titanium is satin. And I really like the natural color of the titanium. It has it's not as white as the steel. It has a kind of light sand color, which is very nice. Let's open this knife to have a closer look to the blade. So as you can see, it's a slip joint mechanism, which makes it quite interesting because it's a very traditional mechanism in France, and it's on a very modern looking knife. I really like the mix of traditional and modern. Anyway, let's just take this out the way for a second. So we have a Damascus blade made by Devin Thomas, the same maker as the Damascus on the knife on my previous review. But this one is not the same pattern, it's bubble wrap pattern. You've got a nice hollow grind, very hollow, which makes it quite thick on the top, and it really gets fine very quickly. Makes a very fine edge, very fine blade. Quite difficult to catch with the camera, but it's signed on both sides by Jacques Jobin. I usually don't really like the marks on the blade, but this one looks very nice because it's very discreet, very fine, very elegant. And finally, I don't mind to have it on both sides. The blade length, it's quite a long knife because the blade length is 10 centimeters, which is about 3.9 inches. And the total length is 22 centimeters, which is about 8.6 or 8.7 inches. So it's quite a long knife, but it's so thin that it looks quite small actually. And it really feels quite small. You've got a nice jimping there, which is quite interesting. I think it more has a design purpose, but it's quite effective too, because this way you don't feel it at all, but this way it really stops your finger. It's really effective only this way. So when you handle the knife, your finger won't slip and go onto the edge, which at the same time looks very nice and is quite useful. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I think the screw is made of titanium because it's the same color. It has a very, very light anodizing on it, and it's the same color as on the jimping. Jacques Jobin I think he uses titanium on all his knives. He really likes titanium because it allows him to play with colors, and all his knives are 100% handmade, which is really nice because it's unique. You will never find two identical knives. He doesn't even use templates. So they will all have a different shape, all be a bit different. Even if you ask him the same as this one, it will not be the same. It will have a slightly different shape. I really like this particular knife because it's very interesting. It's inspired by the la gueule, which is a traditional knife. And with a traditional knife, he managed to do something very modern. It still has the same kind of blade, same line. It's a slip joint mechanism, but still it looks very modern. And what's even more amazing, oops, let's just get this out the way. What's even more amazing is that it was made in 1998, sorry. So this knife has almost 20 years. It's incredible. It still looks very modern now. I really find that amazing, and I think it will always stay very modern. And people who are able to do that are genius. They really are the best in their disciplines, and I think we call them trendsetters. So this knife comes in a shark leather sheath, very nicely made. I don't know if it's thermoformed or I don't really know how he did it. Sorry, but it really has the shape of the knife. It's really firmly held in place. It will never come out on its own. And again, the jimping there is very useful. It allows you to take it out the sheath very easily. I really like it. It looks great. Keeps the whole thing quite small so that you can carry it in your pocket very easily. I'll just give you a few more close-ups. And I'll leave it there for this one. Hup. Well, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like it if you did. And I'll catch you in the next video to present you something a little bit different. Something that I discovered very recently, which is, I think, very interesting. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.